The much longer answer, it depends on the girl, but even that's not the most accurate answer, despite how unhelpful that might sound. The more accurate and even less helpful it is, it can be complicated. If you don't have awakened, high-level support cards and or you don't have good inheritances, you'll likely have to follow the girl's base design. If you follow the girl's base design, then you have to make sure you hit your stats. But to hit your stats, you need higher level support cards and or good inheritances. I say this because I'm pretty sure higher level support cards provide larger bonuses to stat training, especially if that support is present for the training in the current turn, or multiple supports because they stack. In general, the more supports that are present for training in a turn, the more stats you will gain during that training. Inheritance can change the adaptability of your girl's strategy by literally giving you another strat that you can train your girl for. This is why I might make free-to-play jokes about the base design of a girl. You can literally make, say, a gold ship a leading girl if her inheritance increases her leading or escape strategy to level A or S. Along with the bonus stats in the 3 inheritance events and the skill hint inheritance, there's just so much at play. You train your stats for the strategy you're using, generally, and what stats you'll train to what degree is dependent on the strategy and the race types you'll be entering. I added that part about the race type because the race type can change the distribution of your stats, and the skills, because there are skills that only help you if you're in a certain race type. To go over each and every strat and stat distribution on a general level is difficult, also because of what skills are available to you. So if you ask the question, what stats should I train, you also have to ask what your support cards are, what you'll be inheriting, how to train every turn due to turn RNG, and again, the earlier statements, and much more. The presence of so many variables, along with RNG during training, like I said, is why this question is so complicated. If you're a whale, or you have the fully awakened inheritances available, or whatever resources you have, do whatever you want. The best I can do in a video's worth of time is to give you examples of my own experience, starting with the most simple example and most used by both English and Japanese trainers, Bakushin. So when I trained my Bakushin, I threw in 5 speed supports and 1 trainer. I don't doubt you could use 6 speed supports, but I used the Aoi trainer for a boost to my outings if possible. When you unlock the trainer outings, they give you goodies up to the final outing, which gives you a skill. I used 5 speed supports because at the time, I figured out that the more supports you have during training for a turn, so say I was doing stamina training and there are 3 supports there, the larger your stat increase for that turn will be. In addition, I also knew at this time that by building bonds early by training with the supports, it doesn't have to be a bond support, which is signaled by the exclamation mark, they just need to be there, the support. If you have multiple rainbow supports available in a turn, the stat increase stacks on top of each other, so you can actually hit plus 50 stats overall in a turn. And higher level supports boost bond increases and the starting value of the support's bond, so that's why I said higher level supports will help you out more. And when I looked it up, this is kind of why some of the Japanese community generally emphasize increasing support bonds and following them during turns for rainbow training unlocks later, which is what I did when possible for my Bakushin. There's not much else to say about Bakushin in my experience because, for races, she has a lot of short distance races, which simplifies her training, at least in that you don't have to think about stat distribution as much. However, your strategy changes when you start training someone like, say, Silent Suzuka. This is when you need to not only ask what stats to train, but then also how to train your stats well. Silent Suzuka is also a leading/escape or runner/advancing type girl if you inherit that into A, but a lot of her races are mid-distance, which means you need more stamina. Heck, my Ura champion Suzuka is built with guts too. I cut down on power because, like Bakushin, I relied on the fact that she stays in the top 3 most of the time, so power is not needed. But this is where you need to learn how to train efficiently, not just spam high tension into a stat for the rest of the run. I maxed out my bond with a stamina support card. Heck, I maxed out 2 in one training, actually. When I did this, I knew I didn't have to do as many stamina trainings if I get rainbow trainings that increase stamina a lot in one turn. Obviously, if there are multiple rainbow trainings in the same spot, yeah. And even when you know what stats you want to train, in my opinion, you have to be able to determine, know, and predict the turns where you'll earn the most points. I made the most of my summer training with Suzuka by doing a 2-study 2 training rotation. I do this better on my present girls, but basically, you only do non-study training if your stamina is at 50-ish, or enough for your training failure rate to be near 0%. You can do whatever you're comfortable with, but the point is there. I normally rest before the summer training. You'll get a warning event 2 turns before. If you do that, you can near guarantee 2 training sessions, that it's not study, more depending on how you want to gamble on failure, but you study because it's essentially free high-level training for no stamina. Because, well, you actually gain stamina for doing study training. I started using summer more for increasing knowledge most of the time for this reason, but obviously you take other training if the stat increase is high enough to warrant it, either through rainbow training or support presence or just the nature of your stats being higher that turn as opposed to, say, studying. Or, of course, resting. You can apply the same thing outside of summer training, but being able to maximize your stat increase during training is key to making your strategy overall work. Or at minimum, give your girls higher stats. Which is how I got my silent Suzuka where she went, or a champion. And as you move to girls who use the insert/betweener or push/chaser strategy, you really need to know the girls' final races, or basically the races in between, and how to distribute stats with the resources you have. My finalist gold ship could have won if I didn't mess up her skills and stats. This is where it's harder to answer what stats to train because there might be more than one area to even improve in. I trained my gold ship before I trained my Suzuka, but after I understood the need to distribute my stats according to the races and pushing strategy in specific. But I didn't know exactly the races I'd be in, the stat distribution that was most optimal for the support's inheritances I had, and I messed up picking skills that may or may not have triggered less frequently than I wanted. Sure, one problem might have been bigger than the others, or the sole problem, but it doesn't change the fact that they needed to be improved on, regardless of knowing how I wanted to distribute my stats. I can line up my stats best for my strategy, but if they're too low, I might need to level up my support cards and improve my inheritances so that my stats are overall higher. If the races I'd be in at the end are only mid-range races, like the final I failed in with Gold Chip, then I might have wanted to focus on mid-range skills instead of general skills. If I want to brute force it a bit, I just level up my Gold Chip or awaken her to unlock skill hints or improve her stats straight out. So while I might know what stats to train and how to train them somewhat efficiently, there are still a lot of variables that go into play during training. Oh, and RNG. Never forget about RNG, because it does exist. Is there a walkthrough for every girl? Yeah, maybe. But I think it would depend on the person until a god strat is found and agreed on, or we determine that it's best to give more a guideline than exact play-by-play for each girl or trainer. I'm in support of the latter because unless you're a whale and or have the resources at hand, you can only do the best with what you get. So again, another solution for most people, and reasonable for this game, is to re-roll. That's an acceptable option as well. But as for what stats to train, well, this video should go to show how complicated it can be. Maybe to a more knowledgeable trainer or an experienced trainer, it's easy. Maybe someone knows the exact effects of all the stats now, so it's easier to kind of strategize. But that means that advice is being kept secret, because more than a few people have a lot of questions right now in the community. There's a reason why even some Japanese video guides have comments that go, "That's great, I wish I had the supports and inheritances you did." And as a free-to-play, I only have what I've got if I don't get lucky. But that's me. So hopefully I'll be around to train more girls and put out more videos. I'm a game developer myself, so that's why I kind of like wrapping my mind around this stuff and getting my questions answered. So comment, criticize, advise, or ask questions in the comment section below, or laugh at the strats I use that you see in this video, and I'll try to answer to the best of my ability. I'm looking into both EN and Japanese resources and communities, so I'm doing that work all while my life is what it is to kind of try to be the most efficient I can be. I won't take up any more of your time though, so this is Jared and MML, and I hope I'll be back.